preparing,
Meeting is now streaming live.
setting up. Done. Okay, great. So let me just do this and then I'll send this over to you and then we can let folks in.
I don't have the breakout rooms yet because I'm not the host. So I just want to make sure that that transfers to the bottom of my screen.
Yeah, so I think that now, I think you're now hooked.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see about Catherine. If Catherine's able to make it, great. If not, I'll screen share for that
Okay.
segment.
And
Because
you have 8 people in the waiting room. I know I'm going to let you in and make you co-host, Rebecca, so that you can start letting people in. But when Rabbi says it's okay.
yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
And I'm just making sure that I have the. Okay.
Oh, I just muted you by mistake, Rabbi. Everything moved. Sorry.
That's okay. Not a problem. Okay, just making sure I have.
Hi, Rabbi.
Hey there, Ellie. Hi. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Sorry for your loss.
Oh,
This
thank
sounds
you.
like quite a woman. That was a beautiful service today. She sounds like an exceptional.
No.
Yeah, we certainly were biased. But she, she had, and particularly as we look at it through the totality, she really had a really good life. As with many lives, there were some really tough moments, but she so showed us how to do things. So it really, thank you. And
So Rabbi, you're now a co-host. Rebecca, you're a co-host.
Okay. And what my sister would tell you, Ellie, is that, or what my daughters would tell you is that that idea of like bringing an extra jacket or a sweater wherever you go, it not only ended up on Gail's side of the family, but I do the same thing. So,
Rabbi, we were so saddened to hear of your loss. Your family spoke beautifully today, as you did.
They really did. They really did. But you know, Eric, they make sure you bring a sweater, in my mind, goes along with what my mother used to say was, make sure you go to the bathroom before you leave the house.
Yeah.
They sort of went hand in hand.
Yeah, that has become more important the older I've gotten too.
yeah.
But really, everyone spoke beautifully, really beautifully. And your mother was a lovely woman. You know, the few times I talked to her, she really was such a lovely, warm, bright woman. It's a pleasure
We used to share my son, the rabbi, Cavell's together.
That's great.
And pinch the rabbi's cheeks.
There you go. Absolutely.
Isn't he a cute little rabbi?
Yeah, I get it. That's great.
Well, when you're 5'1", to say that, isn't he a cute little rabbi? It's probably a little wishful thinking, but.
But what a wonderful life she led. I mean, it's just, what a family. You all should be proud. She lived a wonderful life.
Certainly.
I think that Steve is taller than me, but until he entered the family at all of like 5'10", I was like the giant.
Was your dad short?
He had spondylitis, so when he was straight for the early years, he was just a little bit shorter, roughly my height. But then afterwards, he was bent for.
Or maybe you think he was 5'8", 5'7"?
I think he was probably 5'9", 5'10" before he was bent.
I mean, I never remember him standing straight.
Mm.
So he was bent over. By the time. My earliest memories are, I can't, but in the wedding pictures, he's standing straight.
Right.
In his wedding pictures.
Yeah. And
years of working as a podiatrist, like bent in that, I don't know. Sylvia used to say maybe that exacerbated it, but he was in a lot of pain, when we were growing up, until I think at the, after a while, I mean, the curvature was, was already there, and he had no more pain with the back. But he was just completely stooped.
Really,
Oh.
that's too bad.
That's too
And
bad.
Gail,
And then he had the
Peggy's,
heart thing.
yeah, Gail, Peggy's dad was a podiatrist in Brooklyn.
Oh,
And
so
and
we
my
used
mom's
to,
a teacher.
and
So
we used to go to Katzenstein's. Do you remember that place? It was the supply store for the,
I,
it was in and he was president of the Connecticut Podiatry Association. So like, I
okay,
mean, I remember going to all these conventions in Atlantic City
really?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
No,
where they
I,
had all these, badges that you would wear, like happiness starts at your feet, which is so true. So true. Yeah.
so
How
true,
old
but-
were you, Gail, when you went to the conventions?
Oh, 6, 8,
Oh, right.
It's a nice man.
10. Yeah. No, and he loved podiatry. He really
So did my father. My father had his office in the house. So
Ah.
I can remember every year he would make this lotion that he would always put on people's feet at the end of a visit. And it had menthol in it. And he would tint it a certain color. So it was always like a pale pink. And people thought it was just a magic potion, but he used to make it in our kitchen. I mean, I have no idea what was in it, but whatever it was, they just loved. I think it was probably the menthol, but
I never heard this story. We're married 50
It's
years.
true.
I never heard this story.
No, and there were so many amazing things that he did. He put things in people's shoes so that they were comfortable. I mean, this is like before orthotics, and he was very good with his hands, and but I remember like my mother saying there were 3 shoe stores that were very close to his office, and they all sent him patients so that you could so she said, you are not anybody. You have to look in that window, and we can only buy 1 pair of shoes. So if you don't love that shoe, we're not going in. So study very quickly, carefully. And I could only go to one of the 3 shoe stores. So you had to be sure about which pair. And but he chose Norwalk because he thought there were a lot of people that stood on their feet all day long and would need a podiatrist.
Good
yes,
reason.
that's a good reason.
Good reason.
Did you have to wear sensible shoes your whole life?
Yes, and he never let me do penny loafers, and I wanted them so badly, but they had no support, and and he hated Keds. He thought they were terrible, but then he lived long enough to see the revolution in sneakers, and because he would say you can just wear them for gym, and I had to have tie shoes. He allowed Mary Janes, but so I had to have a tie shoe, Mary Janes, and then the Keds just for gym.
I had pretty much the same experience. And the Mary Janes were for special occasions.
Party shoes.
So I did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that is so funny. That also.
And do you have good feet now?
No. Terrible feet. I mean, I have
Better than Sylvia's. They're not puffed
yes,
up.
they're
They're
not
just
puffy.
hard to fit.
They're hard. Yeah. Once I find a shoe, I have to get it in other colors because, Eric too, right? You have challenging feet.
So you can see this teaching Gail shopping thing has been a lifelong lesson as well. And so
We're learning a lot about our rabbi tonight.
There you go.
Gail,
Oh,
it's
Jane-
Sherry.
Sherry.
I'm sending you and Eric, the whole family, Rabbi Eric, my love.
Thank you, Sherry.
You know
hey
what?
there, Sherry.
There's one story you didn't hear about your rabbi, but I can tell you now.
Okay,
This
Uh,
goes
I'm all
back.
ears.
Is this something which I'm going to have to mute you, Steve?
This goes back 37 to 38 years, and we can now tell it with love and laughter. But it's the one rough patch that we ever had in our lives with Sylvia. And what it is that when Eric got engaged to Ellen, and they were so young, they were just out of college. They were so in love. They were so happy together. They'd been in a stable relationship for 3 years since their second year of college. Arnold and Sylvia had nothing against her, but they were just so young. And Arnold and Sylvia came from a generation where once you got married, that was that. There was no going back to school. You had to work to support your family. And so they were in inconsolable despair, the two of them, about this engagement.
Their lives will be ruined. They will never
Never go
go
back
to
to
graduate school.
Never go back to
You know,
school.
and they were furious at us.
They were mad at us. They said, we're usurping their parental authority, Arnold would say. Because we were totally supportive. We loved Ellen. We loved their relationship.
Yeah.
We had been out in the working world for several years. We helped them, you know, with co-signing a lease, getting a security deposit so they could get an apartment.
Down here.
If they didn't get an apartment, if they had no money, they would have to come running home with their tail between their legs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
Well, they're lucky to have you, and we're lucky to have them, for sure.
So, and so, you know, in the end, of course, they went back to school, and everybody was very, very happy. But that was the one rough patch.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Ellen's parents were absolutely beside themselves that we might live together and not be married. And my parents were absolutely beside themselves that we might live together and get jobs and not go to graduate school.
That's it. That's it.
And Jay is laughing, but this is true. That's who very much who they were. I see that it's just after 7, and so there's a lot of us here. So we will begin. First, we'll be doing sort of 2 things. And for those who have been at our Shiva Minions before, members of our congregation, first I should go back half a step. Should there be friends of Gail or Jay's or Howard and Iris's. I'm Rabbi Eric. I'm the 3rd child, streaming tonight from the study here in Southbury. I would also say my family has been overwhelmed, and we are so appreciative of the love and support that we've received. So many people who are dear ones in our lives, and for the opportunity to reconnect with so many relatives and friends. That likewise is testified to tonight by the many screens and faces offering solidarity and presence. It says that our mother was impactful, that our family is strengthened by an awareness that this loss is shared by others. Hence tonight's minion. As we gather for prayers whose lessons about continuity and determination were not just familiar to Sylvia, but help to define her identity and her trusts. For it is most important to now focus on matters of faith. Wounded by loss, the congregation takes us in, and we gather virtually in friendship and community, bringing with us prayers and condolences and memories. Now, our service will have 2 segments. First, prayers that might be recited any evening, and then some specific prayers and reflections around loss and mourning and hope that brings us all together on this Zoom call and YouTube this evening. Now, we're going to begin, and I'll be screen sharing, I believe. We're going to begin on... we're going to begin on page 4 and of the Mishkan Tefillah. And what will happen momentarily is that I will start, I believe I will start by, you know what, just one more moment, just as we're beginning, Michelle, if I could ask you to send our code to Catherine, that would be.
I'm here. I got it now.
Oh, Catherine is here. Great, and if Catherine, if when you're ready, we'll turn to page 4. For those who are able, we invite you, I see it's up, we invite you to rise as Linda Goodman, our Director of Sacred Music, leads us in the Baruch Hu.
Linda, you're muted.
All right, I'll do it. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
I read on the bottom of, on page 7, I read, our praise to you, Eternal One, who brings the evening evermore.
Baruch Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim.
And I read at the bottom of page 8, praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
Baruch Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Page 10.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated. Linda leads us in You Shall Love. It will be found, the English central translation is found on page 12.
And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently to your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and when you rise up, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
We turn to page 14. I read towards the bottom of the page. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. Mi Chamocha will be found on page 16.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot oseh pele, nora tehilot oseh pele, malchutecha ra'u banecha, v'keyam lifnei Moshe, Zeli, Zeli, Anu ve'amevu. Adonai himloch leolam vaed. Adonai himloch leolam vaed. Adonai himloch leolam vaed. Leolam, leolam, leolam vaed.
Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. We now turn to page 74 in our prayer books for the Tefillah. We join together with Linda in the chanting of the opening of the Tefillah and the Avot, Imahot, and Gevurot prayers.
Adonai sivatai tahu viaki tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibur Bahanara, Elohim Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Mekanei Hakol, V'zocher Hastirot Be'imahot, Umevi Kula Lifnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava. Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham Bezrat Sarah. Atagi Le'olam Adonai, Mechayecha Kol Atavrat Lihoshia, Mekakel Kaim Bechesed, Mekayecha Kol Berachamim Rabim, Somek Noflim Ve'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayehim Emunatohu, Lishenei Afar. Michamocha b'gevurot u'mido melach melech mebit u'mechayei u'matmiya Yeshua v'nehemana tali hayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei hakol.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated, and we now pause for silent prayer.
Uh-oh. This is not the right one. This might be me.
Lisa?
Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart be acceptable before you. Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Oh, say shalom bimroma. Say shalom aleinu. Be'akol Yisrael.
You can't hear anything there.
No, not at all. It never turned on. I didn't touch anything. So
I know you didn't, huh?
We follow the custom of beginning the distinctly memorial component of our service by promoting learning, specifically by teaching Mishnah, the understandings of our Jewish sages. That is in keeping with the word neshama, meaning soul or spirit. Rearranging letters, Mishnah becomes neshama. For with Mishnah we preserve neshama. Hence tonight, with learning we sustain Sylvia's commitments. We read in the Mishnah, in Pirkei Avot, Arba midot b'yoshvim lifnei hachamim, sefog umashpech, mishameret v'nafa. There are 4 types among those who sit before the sages: a sponge, a funnel, a strainer, and a sieve. A sponge soaks up everything. A funnel takes in at one end and lets out at the other. a strainer, which lets out the wine and retains the sediment, the dregs, and a sieve, which lets out the coarse meal and retains the choice flour. Many here tonight have memories of Sylvia, of our mother and Howard's wife from prior years when her energy and grace were strong. Let us sift through them and retain and refine what's useful, how her legacy and remembrance will continue to ground and inspire. In recalling her life now, albeit very briefly, may our sage's insight help to focus on essence and blessing. Now, for those unable to join us earlier, tonight we mourn a woman who grew up in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, at the height of the Depression, part of a close-knit, extended Yiddish-speaking immigrant family from Cabrin. She was an only child who craved family. She learned English in public school and herself would later become an ESL specialist. She majored in education, receiving her bachelor's and then master's degree from Hunter College, where she also learned the social graces. Later, she would get a 6th-year certificate in education at the University of Bridgeport. She married Arnie, our father. They settled in Connecticut. She was an elementary school teacher, and he established his very successful podiatry practice. He became the state leader. They had 3 children, and she also moved her parents close into Connecticut. My mother was a beautiful brunette, though much later in life she opted for blonde over gray. She lived in her dream house where she wanted to remain till her last breath. The major trauma that really defined our family was Arnie's suffering a stroke during open heart surgery, which left him permanently without central vision. She never faltered. She remained our family's rock and protector, and his companion and eyes, his hands and driver. She was uncomplaining, though when it came to the driving, my older brother Jay was already in medical school and my sister Gail never really took to the activity. Don't ask about how many side view mirrors have been replaced on Gail's cars. So at the age of 16, with my permit and only my permit, I became the family driver, taking them to visit Gail at college in Boston. Sylvia was practical, easygoing, and hospitable. She pushed us to achieve and towards professions. As adults, her children and then her Connecticut grandchildren all lived under her roof, experiencing her care. She maintained connections to her extended family and, despite being a continent away, was extremely close to her cousins in Argentina. Sylvia nurtured many close friendships and truly cherished spending time with relatives. Widowed at 64, some years later, Jay's Machatanam set her up with Howard, a retired engineer and Air Force veteran, and they had a charming courtship. They wed in 2000. I officiated at that ceremony, blending 2 families together and enjoying 2 decades of marriage. He called her the Queen Bee, and her grace, stoicism, beauty, and poise were all manifest even through the last tough years of dementia. Sieving through these trials and memories, may we bless and be inspired by her commitment and her countenance, her strong Jewish identity, and love of learning. May her soul, her neshama, now return to the source of life, know peace. Ken Yehi Ratzon, be this God's will. We continue as Rabbi Cantor as Linda leads Psalm 23 with our choir. And in but a moment, I will be screen sharing Linda and our choir in Psalm 23. I just have to stop screen sharing for 1 second, one sound issue. Let me try that again one more time.
Adonai Rawi lo etzar bino tishayar bitseni. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me to lie down in green pastures. God leads me beside waters so still, and restores my soul. God guides me in pathways of justice as befits God's holy name. Adonai Rohi lo esar b'no teshear b'seni. Yea, though I walk through the valley of death, I will fear no evil. You are with me, my rod and your staff, they comfort me. Prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with precious oil, my cup overflows. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall pursue me all my days, and I will dwell in God's holy house forever, forever, forever and ever.
With these people who have been placed in such a
We now invite Rabbi Cantor Samantha Natov.
I'm about to chant a couple of verses from Psalm 16, which we refer to as Shaviti because that's the first word that we sing from it. Shaviti means I have set, or I keep before me Adonai, the presence of Adonai and the gifts of Adonai. And so in this moment of profound grief, we celebrate that we had Sylvia in our lives and all that she brought to our lives. And one, Polokoffs who are here, Eric and your siblings, and Mia and Ariel and Ellen and your extended family, one only needs to think briefly about all of the things that Sylvia has shared with you, from her advice to her laughter to comforting you, to being with you through all of life's times, to realize that in ways large and small, she has had an effect on who you are, your very selves. And that is a celebration and something to keep before us in this moment of grief, to remember that that relationship lives on as long as you all shall live, as long as we all shall live, and into the next generations as we share her memory. Shiviti. Shiviti Adonai, linigdi tamid.
Thank you so much. Linda leads the traditional El Malay Rachamim memorial prayer, page 582.
מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, המסה מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קרשים וטהרים, כסהר הרקיע. מזהירים את נשמת סימה בת יעקב ונתי שהלכה לעולמה. בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתם, וננוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר אמן.
And I read across the page on page 583 the sentiments which were, the insights which were so beautifully expressed by Rabbi Sam. That sense of continuity and remembrance. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. In the blueness of the sky and the warmth of summer, we will remember her. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember her. So long as we live, she too shall live, for Sylvia is now a part of us as we remember her. We now turn to page 586 as Linda leads us in the Aleinu that we'll be chanting as the second paragraph down on the page. For those who are able, we invite you to rise.
עלינו לשבח להדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגאי הברצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגוב עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
After the concluding prayers of our minyan, please feel free to remain on Zoom as you'll have an opportunity to offer personal condolences. We are going to have 4 breakout rooms where Jay and Gail and Iris and I will be. For those who are able, we remain standing or we rise for words and a context exuding hope, remembrance, and a longing for peace. As we join together in the recitation of the Mourner's Kaddish. It's found on page 598. You'll see it momentarily on your screen. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divra chirute, v'amlich malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichrona livracha, may her memory be for blessing. We say amen. Please be seated.
Oseh shalom bimromav, uyahaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, v'imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Thank you, Linda and Lisa, Rabbi Sam. Thank you, the members of our choir who participated this evening. We are so truly, profoundly grateful to you. Michelle will be having us heading off into, I believe, a variety of breakout rooms this evening.
Okay, so I am going to be assigning 4 breakout rooms. Rabbi Eric is in breakout room number 1. Gail is in number 2. Jay and Susan are in 3. Iris and Howard are in 4. If you get a flash on your screen that asks you what breakout room you'd like to go to, please click on that. If you don't, that means you haven't updated your Zoom. Please put in the chat where you'd like to go, and we will put you into that room. Thank you and enjoy your time.